Well, hello, welcome again to a reading through of the Septuagint version of Genesis. And I've got up to the beginning of chapter 2. The first three verses of this seem to me to follow on quite naturally from chapter 1, even though this is linked to chapter 2. And the next section, the beginning of a whole new section, I think begins at verse 4, but I leave it to the commentators to discuss all these things. I'm just reading through. So, kai sun etelesthesan ho uranos kai hege, kai pas cosmos auto, and the heavens and the earth, and pas ho cosmos. Cosmos, it means the order, the arrangement of them. So, all their arrangement. And this is an aorist passive here from sum telio, were completed, were brought to completion. It's almost cosmos, their organisations, referring back to the creation of the stars and the plants and human beings and so on. So the heavens and the earth and all their arrangement singular, they were brought to completion. And Hotheos, again this is representing Elohim in the original, and God brought it to completion on the sixth day. He brought to completion, and the object of that is ta erga autu. So he brought to completion his works on the sixth day, the works which he did. And katapao, he rested, or perhaps ceased, on the seventh day from all of his works of which he did. This is attracted into the genitive here from the ergon. Kai eulogesen, and God blessed the seventh day, and kai hagiasen autan from hagiasdo, and he sanctified or made it holy, hoti en aute, because in it katepausen apapanton ton ergon autu, hon erxatohotheos poiesai. So because on it he ceased from all of his works, and the relative pronoun again gets attracted back into the genitive, which happens all the time in Greek, it's very common. So which God began poiesai to do. Now verse 4, this appears to me to be the beginning of a new creation story, a separate creation story. Again, I'll leave the commentators to discuss all these things. The name for God, well, it varies in this section here. Sometimes we get Hotheos, which is Elohim in the Hebrew, and sometimes we're getting this strange combination here, such as Kurios Hotheos, which in the Hebrew, Kurios is Yahweh, and Hotheos is Elohim. So you get Yahweh, Elohim in the Hebrew. Anyway, just to read through it here, Hute he biblos genesios uranu kai ges, hoti egeneto. He mera epoies en hotheos ton uranon kai ten gain, kai pan chloron agru, pro to genesthai epites ges, kai pant horton agru, pro to an talai. This is the book, literally, of the generation, of the birth, of the creation, all of those things of the heaven and of the earth, when it took place. On the day in which, so Greek often does that, it'll put the relative pronoun before the antecedent, so it's literally te he mera he, but the Greek will say he mera. So on the day in which God made, this is Elohim, the heaven and the earth. Kai pan chloron agru, literally every green thing of the field. Pro tu genestai epi. So I think the sense of it here is God created this, and then thereafter it reproduced of its own accord. So it's before it came upon the earth, kai panta kortu agru, and all the grass of the field, horton here, plant or grass or herb sometimes, perhaps every plant of the field, pro to anatelai. This is from anatelomai. It's used of plants growing up out of the soil. So before it literally rose up. It's also used of this, can be used of the sun rising or so on, stars and so on. So I think the sense is here that God created all these things before they began to exist and reproduce and come up of their own accord. Ugar explains this here with an explanatory gar. Ugar ebrexen hotheos epitein gain, kai anthropos uk ein ergazestai tein gain. For God, this is Elohim again, ebrexen, this is from brecho, the kai, it means to reign. So God did not reign, as in R-A-I-N, upon the earth. So we might say God did not send rain upon the earth, and anthropos, and there was not a man, ergadzestai, literally to work, we might say to till, but it's to work the land. Pege de and ebainen ektes geis kai epotitsen pan to prosopon tes geis. And a pege is a stream, anebainen came up from the earth, kai epotitsen from potizdo. The pot root, you'll see it in poterion, a cup. It's from a root connected with pino, to drink. It's all from that same root. But here, potizdo is to water. And he watered all the face of the earth, we would say the surface of the earth. Kai eplasen hotheos ton anthropon kun, apotes geis kai anaphusesen es to prosopon autu pnoen to es kai genetoha anthropos es psukein zosan. This is from a verb, it's cognate with our word plastic. It means to fashion. And God fashioned the man. Now, kun is accusative. It's from koos. It's a word meaning dust. So we would say from dust. But it's actually accusative. So as a thing of dust. So God fashioned the man, we would say, from dust, or as a thing of dust from the earth. Kai anaphusesen, and he breathed, from anaphuo here, he breathed into his face, literally, the pnoen soes, the breath of life. And the man became, now this is a Hebraic idiom here, became into. So ginomai eis it's not generally good Greek, but it is, the Hebrew has le here. So, and the man became, or perhaps we could say turned into, or became a living soul. This is a participle from soa, from tsao, but it's being used here as really here as an adjective. So as a living soul. Hebrew doesn't have a lot of adjectives, and so it often uses other ways of expressing an adjective, often by using a participle, and so the Greek has just copied what was in the Hebrew here, I think. Kai effutusen kurios o theos paradeson en Edom, kata anatolas kai etheto eke ton anthropon hon eplasen. And now here we get this rather strange expression for the name of God. It's kurios or theos. In the Hebrew it's Yahweh Elohim, and this continues through this section, but then in verses I think 19 and 21 it goes back to just Hotheos, which is Elohim. So and just rendered as the Lord God. Futuo is to plant, so he planted a paradeson, cognate of course with our word paradise, simply means a garden. I think from memory it's probably originally a loan word from Persian. It's not, you can't break it up into para and anything here. I think it's a loan word from Persian, meaning a garden. So the Lord God planted a garden in Edom. This would be E-D-O-M, I think, transliterated into modern Bibles. Kata anatolas. Anatolas is connected with anatelomai. It's the same verb we had up here actually, but so it means the rising, and that's the rising of the sun. Where does the sun rise? It's in the east. So he often uses this expression. So he planted a garden in Eden towards the east, and Ethetoph from Tithami he placed the man there, the man whom he had fashioned. Kai ex and we get the same verb again with an X in front here, and God. Now here again it's gone back to just Theos, and God raised up further from the land Pan Xulon Horion. So it's every fair or beautiful Xulon tree. Ace Horasin Kaikalon Es Brosin. It's beautiful with regard to looking at, I think here. So fair to behold. So beautiful with regard to looking at. So every beautiful tree to look at, and every fair tree to look at, and good for brosin. This is a third declension, brosis. It's formed from the root of the verb bibrosko, to eat, and then you get brosis is the third declension abstract noun formed from that root bro. So it's we see two things here. So God raised up every tree which is fair for looking at, so nice to look at, and good for food, and toxulon texoes in meso to paradiso, and the tree of life in the middle garden. Literally, we would say the middle of the garden. Greek often does this with mesos. So in the middle of the garden, kai toxulon, and the tree. Now we get articular infinitive here, so as to know. Gnoston kalu, so is literally to know knowledge. Gnostos is normally an adjective meaning knowing. Here we're getting really tok gnoston being the adjective being used as a noun. So as to know knowledge of good and wickedness, poneru. Often rendered good and evil, but wickedness is normally a better translation of much the same, I suppose, anyway. So just to do that bit quickly again. So furthermore, God raised up from the earth every tree fair for looking at and good for food, and the tree of life in the middle of the garden, garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, literally, good and wickedness. Potamos de ek poruetai ex Edom potisdain ton paradeson. And a river came forth from Eden, potisdain, we had that verb before, to water the garden. Ekathin aphoriztai eis tesserus arches, and from there, aphoriztai, he separated it, this is from apo plus horizdo, he separated it into tesserus archas. Funny use of archas here. The Hebrew has the word for heads, and so it's generally translated here as branches. So he's splitting this river into 4 branches, but it's a funny use of archas, but that meaning it doesn't normally have that. It's not rules here, but it's 4 branches, 4 tributaries perhaps. The name for the one was Phison. Hutos hot kuklone, this is a participle. This is the one encircling. Pan tangain uilat. This is generally transliterated as Havilah. So this is the one encircling all the land of Havilah. Again, where that is, you'll need to look at the commentaries. Eke hu estin tot crucion. And funny expression here. Where there, it is golden. The who here is that where, it's that use of who in the sense of in the place where. So there it is. So there is gold. So where there is gold. The gold of that land is kalon, is beautiful, is fair. Kai eke ho anthrax, kai ho lithos ho prasinos. And there is the anthrax, well, not the anthrax in the modern sense. This refers to a dark red precious stone, often translated as carbuncle, and holithos ho prasinos. And the stone which is, well, again, prasinos, often translated as emerald, apparently has the meaning of green. So there is the carbuncle and the emerald stone. And the name for the second river is Gaon. Hutos hokuklon, this is the one encircling all the land of Ethiopia. Kai hopotamos totritos Tigris, and the third river is the Tigris. Hutos ho poromenos kat enanti Assyrion, hodipotamos hotetatos hutos Euphrates. So the third river is the Tigris. This is the one coming, kat enanti, opposite Assyria, perhaps the Assyrians. And the fourth river, this is the Euphrates. Kai elabon kurios hotheos. Now again we get this strange expression here, the Lord God, ton anthropon, and the Lord God took anthropon, the man, hon eplasen, whom he had made, kai etheto auton enter paradiso, ergedzes auton kai fulasen, and he placed him in the garden to work on it, and fulasen, to keep guard on it. Kai en etelato kurios hotheos, there's that kurios hotheos again, to Adam legon. Now I think this is the first time we've had the name of Adam mentioned. Again, you need to look up the commentaries on the etymology of Adam. I think it means connected with the earth. legon apapantos xulu tu ento paradiso brose phage. Apo de tu xulu tu ginoskein kalon kai poneron u phagesthai ap autu. He dan he mira phageti ap autu thanatu apotheneste. So, and the Lord God, this is from Entelemite, a command, gave command to Adam, saying, from each tree, now the one in the garden, you will eat it, brose is dative, for food. So you will eat from each tree in the garden for food, but from the tree of the knowing good and wickedness, there, you will not eat from it. Classical Greek would probably have had a strong negation here, you will not eat of it, but it just says you will not eat from it. Phages, their future it's from phagomai, it's from esthio is the future of, phagomai is the future of esthio. Again, we get the relative first. So on the day in which you would eat, so subjunctive here, from it, you will die by death. This is a Hebraism here, very common in the Septuagint. So often translated, you will surely die, but it's you will die by means of death. This is a future from apothenesko. Kai apen kuriosotheos, there's the kuriosotheos again, and God said, Ukalan einai ton anthropon monon. It is not good for the man to be alone. Poies somen auto boethon kat auton. Kai eplasen hotheos eti ek teskes pantata theria tu agru kai pantata tepena tu uranu kai egegen auto proston adam idein ti kalesai auto. Kai pan ho eon ekalesen auto adam psukein sosein tuta onoma autu. So, and God said, it's not good for the man to be alone. Let us make, hortatory subjunctive, boathon, an assistant, a helper for him, kat auton, literally, well, kat auton's awkward here. It's something fit for him. The Hebrew has something like to suit him, so suitable to him. But kat auton is a rather elliptical expression here. We have to translate. I've got to paraphrase it a little bit. A helpmeet for him, according to his kind, perhaps fit for him. Hebrew has to suit him. And God fashioned further. So further then God fashioned from the earth all the beasts of the field and all the flying things of the heaven, and brought them to Adam Edain to see what he will call them. This is a future from Callio. Interesting here, it seems to be the reverse, that God has made the man before all the beasts, whereas in the Genesis 1 was the other way round. Man was made at the end. Kai pan, and each thing which, now this is e'an for an. This is very, very common, unfortunately, in biblical Greek, e'an for an, which he would call, and everything which Adam would call it a living soul, this was the name of it. So it's a little bit awkward with the word order here and the sense of it. So, and everything which, so it's every living soul really, but then we've got a neuter relative pronoun agreeing with pan. So everything which Adam would call it a living soul, This was the name of it, so this would be its name. And Adam called, or perhaps gave a name, called names to each katanesin, to all the cattle or all the beasts, kai pasin, and all the petanois to uranu, all the birds of the heaven, and to all the beasts of the field, and to Adam ukureth thereby, and there was not found, this is an aorist passive from Heurisco, there was not found for Adam a boethos, a helper, homoios auto, like to him. And God epibale ekstasin. We get our word ecstasy, of course, cognate with this, but here it's probably the sense of a trance. The usual meaning of ecstasis is it's ek plus hystemi, to be knocked out of yourself and to be unconscious sort of idea. So it's the idea of an illusion or terror or ecstasy. The Hebrew here has a deep sleep. So I could say trance here. So God cast a trance upon Adam and hypnosen from hypno, and he slept. And he, that is God, took one of his ribs, and difficult expression here, literally he filled up the flesh in place of it. And this is the rib is feminine, so it probably, we might say, around it for this expression here. The Hebrew has closed the flesh in its place. Here it's literally filled up the flesh, perhaps around it. And kurios ho theos, and the Lord God oikodomesin, literally built the rib from oikodomio, which he took from Adam. He built it into a woman, perhaps constructed it into a woman, and brought her to Adam. Kai apen Adam tuton nun ostun ektonos dion mu, kai sarx ektes sarkos mu. And Adam said, this now is bone from my bone and flesh from my flesh. Haute klethesatai gune. And she, klethesatai, will be called woman. Now, ish is man in Hebrew, and isha is the word for woman, so they're cognate there, much as men and women are cognate in English, but of course aner and gune are not cognate in Greek. So she will be called, future passive from Kallio, woman, because she, elanthe, this is the aorist passive from lambano, and it retains the nasal mu. In classical Greek there's no mu there, but this verb in biblical Greek you often retains the nasal mu here. So she will be called woman because she has been taken from her husband, we would say, from her man, from her husband. Henika tutu, on account of this, anthropos katalepse, a man will leave to patra to his father and his mother, and pros kolethesatai, future passive from pros kolao is the verb. The kolao cognate with our word collage, which comes by the French, of course. It means to glue to join together with. So he will leave his father and mother, and he will be joined to his wife, literally, to the woman of him, and the two will be as one flesh. And eisen hoi dua gumnoi hode Adam kai he gunea tu kai uk a skunontai. And the two of them were gumnoi, were naked, both Adam and his wife, and they were not ashamed. And that is the end of chapter